Hi, my name is Pietro Michelucci, and I'm director at the Human Computation Institute in Ithaca, New York. And I'm providing this video interview for an MBA research paper by students of the Ducere Global Business School in Mauritius. And I was given three main questions. Number one, what are the jobs of the future in your field or sector, and what areas of study will monopolize the career market by 2030? I believe labor demand is fundamentally driven by a combination of basic human needs and emerging technologies. For example, with artificial intelligence today, I think we're seeing a recapitulation of the Industrial Revolution, where AI may provide automation that actually replaces some tedious human jobs, but then creates new jobs in the process that might be more interesting. In the transportation sector, I like to cite an example with Nissan's approach to the autonomous vehicle problem. So the problem is that autonomous vehicles work well 90% of the time, but when they don't, there are human lives at stake. So Nissan created a human-powered call center that confused driverless cars can call for advice, and then a human operator can take over and lead the car and its occupants to safety. So I believe the AI revolution leaves functional gaps that can only be filled by human cognition, at least today. And this leads us toward what I would call a thinking economy. So my background is in cognitive science, which studies thinking. And in particular, I work in an area of AI called human computation, where we leverage the complementary abilities of human cognition and machine thinking to create systems that can do more than machines or humans alone. For example, we created a game anyone can play called Stall Catchers that accelerates Alzheimer's disease research by using wisdom of crowd methods to produce an expert-like scientific analysis of real research data. And that's just from the players' activities in the game. Today, our online players are volunteers who want to cure Alzheimer's disease, but in an emerging thinking economy, I believe we'll begin to find equitable ways for people to actually earn a living doing these tasks. And that's a problem that Human Computation Institute is actively tackling today. Number two, what skills do you foresee your current and future employees to acquire for the next 5 to 10 years in order to excel at work and improve your company's performance? So just as the Industrial Revolution created a new job market for industrial engineering, I think we see the same kinds of opportunities arising for artificial intelligence. We need people who can understand and develop such systems, but also this area is creating secondary needs. So, for example, in machine learning, a branch of AI, that requires lots of data to train models so they can do something useful in the world. For example, if you were in the fashion industry and you wanted to create a system that could automatically detect defective garments coming off the assembly line, you might need to provide hundreds of thousands of examples of both good stitching and bad stitching before the machine could learn how to properly distinguish between the two. And this suggests two secondary labor categories. So one is that you would need human cognitive laborers to go through and label images of hundreds of thousands of garments as defective or not defective to provide the ground truth data needed by the models. And number two, you need data scientists who know the best way to acquire, build, and manage these kinds of data sets so they can be used to train a model. Another key skill, I think, would be related to collaboration. I think the bar is rising on technology-enabled collaboration, and new tools show up all the time, some with greater adoption than others. So being familiar with popular collaboration tools and being able to adapt quickly to new modes of collaboration seems to be increasingly important. And also because in this so-called gig economy, people often move fluidly from one job to another, and the ability to reintegrate quickly is essential for reducing the burden of those transitions for everyone. So let's see, number three, artificial intelligence and other technological advancements will be replacing several jobs at the workplace. However, there are certain tasks that can only be performed by human. In your sector, what are the jobs that will still require human intervention, and will these jobs continue to exist until the next decade? Wow, okay, so here's what I call the big three. Abstraction, creativity, and world knowledge. So abstraction is big. It's about recognizing patterns of patterns. It's a higher level of understanding that allows humans to use metaphors to better explain or understand things. There's a great real-world example of abstraction leading to a new product idea. So there was a plumber who saw a YouTube video about how to retrieve a cork that had been pushed all the way into an empty wine bottle. And the magical solution was to insert a plastic bag into the wine bottle and inflate it, which would then push the cork out the top. The plumber realized that this technique could be applied to the field of obstetrics and came up with a prototype for actually safely extracting an infant that was stuck in the birth canal. And then he partnered with an obstetrician, and then the product was eventually approved for medical use by the FDA. The next one, creativity, also big. The thinking economy feeds a marketplace driven by attention. So, for example, in the entertainment industry, will continue to require human creativity. I have yet to see a computer-written story turn into a blockbuster Hollywood film. And AI will make it easier and more realistic, I think, to create virtual actors and realistic imagery. But no matter how good the special effects get, the key to entertainment is the narrative that speaks in some way to the human experience. And AI, in all its glory today, does not understand the human experience and therefore cannot do that yet. And the third uniquely human quality in the big three triad, which I mentioned, is world knowledge. And despite what IBM Watson might lead you to believe, for AI systems, this is still a hard nut to crack. The problem is that the kind of knowledge that we acquire growing up in a physical world and interacting with all these systems, financial, social, cultural, and political, is that we can't encode those in usable ways for AI systems. So there's certainly AI research going on in this space, but we're not there yet, and I don't think we'll achieve human-like performance on this until we have robots or some kind of AI agents interacting directly with all these systems in the real world and come up with a better way to encode this kind of working knowledge of the real world. One area where this becomes relevant to human labor is in a certain kind of division of labor between machines and humans. So machines have become very good at complex pattern recognition and can sometimes find anomalous patterns that elude humans. But not all anomalies are important, and so it takes a human to know whether a strange pattern found by a machine is actually important and useful, and if so, figure out how to use it. So I believe that any job that requires one or more of the big three that I just mentioned will not be completely usurped by AI in the next decade. In fact, AI will make some jobs that require the big three more accessible than ever before. The reason for this is that we've discovered ways to encode domain knowledge into automated systems. So even if you're not an expert in a specific field, many aspects of specialized expert knowledge can be built into a system that then guides non-experts through the relevant procedures and asks for input only when it requires one of the big three. So I think we'll see increased focus in understanding how to build these effective human-machine partnerships. And then the challenge will ultimately be to see how society can adapt to these changes in a way that preserves human livelihoods. Thank you.